If you have cash in your pocket, you can go out and spend it, and the government doesn't know what you bought. The government doesn't see that transaction, and they don't like that, but that gives you a degree of privacy and a degree of freedom because they can't stop you from using that cash. But if we completely eliminate cash, and the only way you can transact is with a Fed coin, the government knows every single dollar that you spend and what you spend it on, and every single dollar you're paid and what you sold and who paid you. And that is a very dangerous position to be in.
Executive Order 14067. Is President Biden getting rid of cash? Is digital currency replacing paper money? You may have been hearing that stuff floating around the internet for the last few weeks. It was such a thing that my TikTok subscribers overwhelmingly voted to have me explain what's going on. So thanks for the questions, guys. I'm happy to help. And if you want to vote on the bonus story I cover, subscribe to my TikTok page during my next live event. So first, let me just say as clearly as possible, no. President Biden is not replacing paper money with digital currency. That is not what Executive Order 14067 does. Here's what it does. On March 9th of this year, President Biden signed Executive Order 14067. This executive order does several things, but what I think everyone is freaking out about is the part where the president orders the U.S. government agencies and the Federal Reserve to put a pep in their step when it comes to research and development of a potential United States Central Bank digital currency, known as a CBDC. For those of you who have been paying attention to my page, I actually told you all about that research that was underway way back in this video on January 20th. It's important to understand doing research on digital currency does not mean paper money is going away tomorrow, if it goes away at all. It just means the government is saying, hey, this might be a thing in the future, so we, the government, should be prepared with infrastructure, rules, regulations, and appropriate technology. The purpose of Executive Order 14067 is for all of the federal government to get with the program and recognize that millions of people have already invested in, traded, and used cryptocurrencies surpassing $3 trillion. The executive order wants the government to prepare, plan, and come up with recommendations for ways the United States can be at the forefront of the change if it happens, for the United States to be able to protect investors and consumers, for possible new regulations for these digital assets, and to make digital currency accessible to everyone through infrastructure if it becomes more widely used. I put all the facts about this executive order on my website.
Disgusting! Wait, I've done nothing wrong.
That powerful men should be allowed to commit sexual crimes and get away with it.
I was holding up a blank sign. Why are you asking for my details?
You said you're going to write stuff on it that may offend people.
I said I was going to write "Not My King" on a sign.
Well, I think the blank ones are generally to talk about freedom of expression and to protest about the clampdown that we've seen over the last few days. I think that's what those are. But I wrote "Not My King" because, of course, I was told yesterday by the police that I wasn't allowed to write that, and if I did, I'd be arrested.
Disgusting! Wait, I've done nothing wrong.
So I called out, who elected him? Are we really now in a place in 21st century Britain where a new head of state is proclaimed, we're told to accept this person without any question, and somebody who speaks out against it is dragged off and arrested? It felt like I'd slipped into the 16th century for a minute.
Most Americans are the same as the British.
Well, our food supply is poison.
Yeah.
It was taken over by one group of people, and they own the rights to the seeds and all of that type of stuff, and they forced out all of these farmers. If their seeds blew onto their property, they could sue them for using their seeds, and the media just ignored all of that because they get paid by them. That's sort of what is going on globally, is everybody is just choosing money, the bag, as fucking kids say nowadays. That's what the problem is. Nobody is, everybody's screaming and yelling about shit that doesn't matter, like stand-up comedians. They'll yell about that, but they won't talk about literally people poisoning their own countrymen. I mean, they should be fucking put to death for what they did.
Hey, Jim, do you know your iPhone is always watching you?
Oh.
Oh man, go to your settings, then privacy, location services, scroll down, system services, significant locations. Wow, look at this. But the good news is you can turn this off.
If Joe Biden was here right now, what would you tell him?
Shit, man. He fucking up the whole economy. Gas too high. He can't even ride a motherfucking bike. He got Alzheimer's. I don't know, but some shit wrong with him. We need Trump back in there. On God. That's real. I fuck with that nigga Trump, though. Trump 2024.
If Joe Biden was here right now, what would you tell him?
If Joe Biden was here right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell the nigga, watch out, bro. It's a red state, bro. It's a red state, baby. This is Miami, dog. Ain't nobody with Biden down here. I tell him to watch out.
If Joe Biden was here?
Yeah.
He's senile as fuck. Like, we need to get him up out of office. He weak as fuck. That's just my opinion.
I'm against Biden. I'm against Biden. I think he's a predator. I mean, I've seen little conspiracies about all of these presidents and shit. Look like that type of guy to me.
The U.S. cholesterol guidelines are highly suspect. In 2004, the National Cholesterol Education Panel lowered the threshold for what is considered to be high cholesterol based on no new scientific data. As a result, millions more people, including someone with cholesterol numbers that look just like mine, were deemed to have high cholesterol and were eligible for recommendation of a statin medication overnight. But it gets worse. It was later discovered that 8 of the 9 members of the National Cholesterol Education Panel had financial ties to statin manufacturers. What the This raises some serious questions about the motivations and possible conflicts of interest of members of this committee and calls into question their decision to lower the guidelines for what is considered a high cholesterol. Statin drugs are a $15 billion industry. They're certainly indicated in some individuals, but I have major concerns that they are significantly overprescribed and that their side effects are severe and often ignored.
Will artificial intelligence replace the role of visual effects artists? It already has.
I'm not real. Kurt Skeleton is a fake character I made using multiple AI-powered programs, and here's how I did it. His face was created using the first release of DALL-E. I played around using different prompts until I created the perfect look. I didn't want to make him look hot because I wanted people to follow him for his jokes and visual effects, so it hurt me to do it, but I had to make him look really funny looking and ugly. I rendered out hundreds of these photos and fed them into an AI-powered program called Convert Skeleton to generate a full 3D model based off these pictures, which is where I got the idea for his name. Honestly surprised no one caught that. Now all I have to do is record my video, send that clip to deepmotion.com, which uses AI to motion capture my movements, then apply that animation to the Kurt Skeleton model. For the facial expressions, I use Deepfake Lab, again using those images from the DALL-E renders. His voice is the only part that isn't AI. Since the program that I want re-speecher costs too much, I just deepened my voice like this and put a ton of effects and modulation to make it sound like Kurt Skeleton. So be sure to follow my actual account down below and comment what you guys think. Should I keep posting this account as Kurt Skeleton, or is the experiment over now?
Hey guys, Zen Honeycutt here. This is an urgent call to action. I'm asking you to please have your child get a school lunch on Monday and send it to the lab on Monday. We have a very short time schedule here to get the school lunches tested for glyphosate, 203 different pesticides, heavy metals, and hopefully nutrients too. We're still working on that. And this information will be out before the White House National Nutrition Conference, the first one that's being held in 50 years, and it'll be out to the public. We want to know what's in these school lunches, what kinds of toxins, what kinds of heavy metals, what kinds of pesticides, and I don't think anybody has ever done this before. So we need your help. We need about 28 more samples. We need you to give your child about $3.50 to buy a school lunch and a plastic Ziploc bag, and all they do is buy the school lunch, throw it in the bag, you take it home, put it in the freezer, and then send it out on Monday. If you email me at zen@momsacrossamerica.org, I will give you the lab address. Please do this tomorrow.
Nazi Germany had a plan to sexualize America's children. And Nazi German scientists started working with Alfred Kinsey in the US, the Kinsey Institute.
The great sex researcher of the 1950s. Right?
Absolutely. And this is a man who performed sexual acts on 6-week-old babies, boys, and then wrote that every child wants to be sexual. And he interviewed pedophiles and asked pedophiles, what do you think a child wants? It's a completely flawed work, but we have built America's sexual foundation. Every book every viewer read when they grew up was based off of Kinsey's work, all our curriculum. Hugh Hefner was a subject of Alfred Kinsey.
I didn't.
Kinsey met Hefner at a college campus, and Hefner was still a virgin at the time, and he groomed Hefner and he said, look, through publication and pornography, we can desensitize the American male. It is a planned, systemic, and systematic attack on God's purpose for sexuality.
This was me over a year before I was properly diagnosed, and here I am today. I was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis due to dangerously high inflammation levels caused by ignored signs and symptoms for my lifetime by our medical care system. Today I'm at Costco, and I just had to build awareness about the fact that not one piece of meat in these images is clean for human consumption, filled with hormones, antibiotics, chemicals, dyes. Nothing is organic, nothing is grass-fed. Even the ground beef says organic but does not say grass-fed. This is not clean enough to eat. Then I stumbled upon the wall of Fruit Loops filled with dyes, additives, and GMO corn. This is a crisis across our country.